Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jezelle and I'm here to give you a breakdown of the energetics for our Aries full moon happening on October 6th. It's happening at around midnight, so maybe October 7, depending on where you are in the world, but I'm here on the East Coast of the United States, so Eastern time, it's about midnight. I'm going to pull up the chart and we'll go through the whole chart together. So here's the chart. Let me just minimize my face so I'm not distracting. So here's the chart for the Aries full moon. We have the sun at 14 degrees in Libra, and it is across the sky from the moon that is in 14 degrees of Aries. This is an interesting full moon because there are no major aspects that are happening with or to the moon. The moon's not making any major aspects to anything else in the chart that's close enough or within like a close degree orb range, which makes it sort of a standalone in the sky. And when that happens, it actually magnifies and really hyper focuses on the energy of Aries, or on the energy of the sign the moon is in. A full moon in Aries is usually and typically about self-awareness. It's the fire of I am, and that gets illuminated against the Libra's reflection of we. So here, with almost no aspects, this energy is really pure and it's undiluted. So this is the Aries archetype in its most raw form. It's very independent, it's instinctual, it's impulsive, it's alive. And the moon's isolation makes this independence feel a little bit lonely or isolated, alienated. There's this like emotional heat, but there's not a lot of outlet or reflection because the moon is sort of holding its own light. It's not really like working with anything else in the chart. We do have some untraditional aspects with these inconjuncts, and it's happening with the lunar node. So we have actually a quincunx. Here at 16 degrees of Virgo, we have the south node. And because Venus is closely conjunct the south node, we include Venus in it too. Otherwise, if it was just Venus standalone at 21 degrees, that's quite far for an inconjunct, and we wouldn't typically look at that. We also have Mars on the other side, making it this quincunx as well. But it's 4 degrees away. I like to work with a 3-degree orb when it comes to quincunxes, so it's just outside of that orb range. But because Mars is the ruler of this full moon, I'd like to also look at that one too. So we have this really interesting it's not necessarily a finger of God, but it could very well be a finger of God if we had these a little bit closer to the actual 14-degree mark. But needless to say, the moon is technically still standing alone, and it does host a really powerful raw form of energy that like elicits and pushes out that Aries energy, that Aries fire, that Aries I am. It's very self-aware, it's very bold, it's very impulsive, it's very instinctive, and there could be a buildup of energy of some sort with potentially no outlet. So pay attention to that during this full moon period. If you feel like there's a buildup of energy, instead of that energy exploding out, find an outlet, a creative outlet, a healthy outlet, a physical outlet for you to release that energy. If it doesn't happen for you, that's fine too. But anybody with degree points around this 14-degree mark in Aries or in any of the square positions or oppositions, so in around 14 degrees of Cancer, of Capricorn, or around the sun, like myself, I have my sun actually at 15 degrees. Pay attention to how you're feeling and give yourself that healthy outlet. This could also impact us in a way where we may feel like there is this truth that emerges about ourselves that feels completely separate from others, or other people aren't understanding where we stand or how we feel. So this could be sort of like an isolated feeling, the need to defend yourself and how you feel, where you stand, why you stand where you stand. And just feeling perhaps even frustrated with that. By the way, these inconjuncts are typically really awkward energy. It's not a smooth flowing energy like a trine would be, or like a sextile would be. And it's not a tense, harsh aspect like an opposition or a square. It's actually more of like a completely missing the point, like it doesn't line up, it doesn't match, they don't see anything, there's no like connection or understanding, it just feels awkward. So it almost feels like you're going to need to reassert your individuality maybe after becoming too accommodating or relational, it could be this emotional pressure to act, even if others aren't aligned with your pace. You may feel misaligned with others at this time, essentially is what this energy is reading. With Mars in Scorpio, we're really looking at Mars being this like energy of penetrating, severing, really like masculine but deep energy while it's in Scorpio. It's in a feminine sign. This is its home sign, right? Its second home sign traditionally. So when it comes to this, there's this really deep dig. There's this really deep force of penetration that happens, and it could be penetration into the psyche or into the raw sense of self, into the things that you deeply, deeply, deeply desire. And so again, there is this mismatch, right, of energy between the emotions that come up, or like the whole experience, the environment that you find yourself in during this full moon, and what you're dealing with deep inside, or maybe what other people are dealing with deep inside. There's just this disconnect. I would like to mention also, just because it's the South Node that's involved here in Virgo with this quincunx, that there is this energy of karma, this past karma that is emerging also at this time. And it's related to this full moon in some way, shape, or form. But it is trying to find this like way between discernment and surrender. And it's almost like this moon is trying to adjust to a spiritual refinement and humility of this nodal story that's been unfolding for the last almost a year. The moon's wanting to rush forward, or we may feel like we're wanting to rush forward, but we're being asked to pause, align, and act from compassion rather than ego. So really like be discerning, be super grounded and rooted in yourself. Take a beat before you take action, especially with Mars in Scorpio. That placement is not an impulsive placement for Mars, even though Mars is impulsive and Aries is impulsive. When it's in Scorpio, it is calculated. It is calculated, it is hyper-focused on the outcome that it wants, and it works from there. And because Venus's involvement with the South Node, this could very well bring up relationships, and not necessarily romantic relationships, but it could be a relationship to anything that you have, anything or anyone, whether it's a job, whether it's friendship, whether it's a sibling, maybe leaning a little bit more towards women in that sense. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about the ruler of this full moon, Mars. So when Mars is in Scorpio, as I mentioned, it's very deep, it's very penetrating. It's also strategic and magnetic and emotionally intense because Mars operates beneath the surface here. And while the moon in Aries acts impulsively, Mars in Scorpio moves with more precision. So the moon's instinct could be fiery, but the motivating force with Mars is very deep, calculated, and transformative. And this combination can trigger some emotional purging, power reclaiming, or even just decisive closure, like a cutting off of ties, a cutting of cords, a cutting of connection. There could be a severing of some sort that feels awkward, uncomfortable, like it doesn't feel smooth at all. It doesn't feel tense and like eruptive like it typically would if there was a square between these two. It just feels uncomfortable. That's another thing to keep in mind. However, Mars's placement at 10 degrees of Scorpio is actually in a really nice alignment with the North Node and with the South Node. So with the North Node, it's in a trine, 6 degrees apart. I would say with trines, I give 6 degrees, and it's quite far for a sextile. I usually give closer to 3 degrees, but regardless, it's connecting with both of them. It's speaking kindly to both of them. The North Node is supporting Mars along this journey, and it just seems to be like the assertive energy that we feel is actually aligned with our spiritual growth. And because the North Node in Pisces is an area that we've almost haven't trekked upon before, it's almost like uncharted territory. The action may feel a little uncomfortable with this moon, but it is pushing us in the right direction. We're acting from soul alignment rather than from reactivity. Okay, we do have a different aspect, and it's a rare aspect, and you can't see it on this chart because I actually have my aspect lines turned off because sometimes it's too busy, but Mars is making an aspect of 165 degrees with Chiron. It's called a quindecile. And a quindecile is, it kind of comes off as like obsessive, but it can be also compulsive as well. So with Mars and Scorpio, we're looking at like deep healing, deep emotional healing, deep psychological healing, investigative, like, just like digging up, dredging up the past, dredging up the things that maybe we need in order to release and let go, or something coming up that just feels uncomfortable, and that's okay. But this quindecile with Chiron, our wounded healer, this asteroid is all about healing, but it's more collective healing than it is so much on our own personal level. So we may actually see this a little bit more on a collective scale. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm recording this on a Sunday, October 5th, and I am seeing this on a collective scale. And if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East and, with the flotillas and all of that, this is actually like presenting in that way. There's this compulsive obsession to freedom, which is very, very Aries, to your sovereignty and identity and being who you are. And Mars is like this, this like masculine, warlike force. There's just like you're fighting for something that you truly, deeply, deeply believe in. So there is this, drive to confront these old wounds of rejection, courage, self-worth. You may feel this on a personal level, or maybe just watch it on this world scale. The healing is not gentle in this sense. It's not gentle at all. Okay. Quindecile is not a gentle aspect. So all in all, this full moon is about emotional individuation, but it's emotional individuation through discomfort. There is discomfort in this full moon. There is this like desire to stand alone in truth rather than having to compromise for peace. The compromising is not on the table right now. The negotiation doesn't feel like it's on the table right now. It just feels like it's very uncomfortable, and there's a fight for yourself. There's a fight for your free will. There's a fight for your independence. There's a release of possible codependency patterns and healing through owning yourself and owning your actions and owning everything that you've done in the past and everything that you are doing now and everything that you will come to do in the future. Because this moon is largely unaspected, the emotional energy isn't dispersing. It actually intensifies inward, and it becomes very self-reflective in its Aries fire. So think of like a forging of what emerges from your solitude, and it being this like purified will, this purified drive, this purified courage. This is how I'm seeing this full moon. It's actually a very fierce full moon, and I am excited and also nervous to see how it will unfold in my life, especially because my sun is at 15 degrees of Libra, so we'll see how that unfolds. But it's interesting, and it's definitely totally different than what we were seeing during eclipse season. But anyways, I wish you a beautiful full moon ahead, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.